On the upfront segment tonight, Senator Gary Peters, the incumbent in what is predicted to be the most expensive Senate race in Michigan history. We spoke with the Republican challenger, John James, last night. We say good evening and thank you, Senator Peters, for your time tonight.
Well, Dave, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on.
So it's a 2-week sprint now to Election Day. Polls seem to indicate your race against John James is very close. Is that your read on the situation as well?
Well, you have polls all over the place right now, and basically I don't really follow polls. This is just about moving my campaign forward, focusing on the issues that matter to folks here in Michigan. To me, what folks in Michigan care about are not polls. They care about issues that they talk about every night at the kitchen table, getting a fair wage for a job, making sure their children have good education, having quality, affordable health care, and when it's all said and done, to be able to retire with dignity. Those are the issues that people care about, and what they want to hear from us as candidates. They want to hear our ideas, the work we're doing, and certainly want to be focused on that and not on whatever the poll is on any given day.
It seems as though there are few undecideds remaining when it comes to the presidential race, but some of that polling that you mentioned, that I mentioned, I'm looking at right now, shows that in your race, perhaps as many as 9 to 13% of voters remain undecided. What else can you do in the remaining 2 weeks here to sway voters your way?
Well, it's about continuing to talk about the message. You know, voters have busy lives. They're focused on their everyday challenges. And over the next 2 weeks, people will be taking a look at candidates. And so I will continue to talk about my record of getting things done as being ranked as one of the most effective United States senators in getting legislation passed through the Senate. And I'm a first termer. I'm a new guy. I'm in my first term. And in the last term, the Center for Effective Lawmaking, a group out of the University of Virginia and Vanderbilt, actually ranks every member of Congress and the Senate as to how effective they are. And I was ranked as the 4th most effective Democratic senator in the last session. And if you look at what I've done just over the last 2 years, and here I am, I'm a junior member and I'm in the minority party, and yet I've actually written and passed more bills through the United States Senate over these last 2 years than any other Democratic senator or any Republican senator, more than anybody else there. And I focus on issues that matter to folks here in Michigan. Legislation to help veterans, for example, transitioning out of the military to get into apprenticeship programs, get the skilled training that they need. Legislation to help make sure we have our Great Lakes are taken care of and we keep them clean for future generations. Making sure that prescription drug prices are lowered. They're way too high. We need to deal with it. Those are the kinds of things that I work on. And certainly I'm going to continue to talk about how I will defend the Affordable Care Act and making sure that everybody in this state, regardless of who they are, where they live, have access to quality, affordable health care. And quite frankly, that is definitely on the ballot this year. There's no question about it, particularly with a Supreme Court nominee now before the Senate who is saying that she will likely overturn that. And that's why it's absolutely critical that folks are electing people who will continue to defend the right of health care for every American and everybody here in Michigan.
Speaking of the Supreme Court and Amy Coney Barrett, that confirmation vote is likely in the Senate next week. Have you decided where you will and how you will vote on that nominee?
This shouldn't even go forward. We should not be taking up a Supreme Court nominee this close to an election. In fact, I shouldn't say this close to an election. We are actually in an election already. I believe roughly 1.7 million Michiganders have already cast their ballot. We should wait until a new president is decided and a new Senate. What we should be doing right now is focusing on the COVID crisis. As I travel across the state of Michigan, it is the central focus. Folks want to get through this pandemic. We've got to deal with the healthcare aspects of it. We have to deal with the economic aspects of it. And as a result of mismanagement that we have seen from the Trump administration, we're still dealing with this, and we need to be focused on how do we get to the other side. And that's why we should be taking up an additional COVID relief package. You know, in terms of helping folks get through this crisis. In fact, in the CARES package that passed, which was a bipartisan effort, and I would hope we could come together and do this in a bipartisan way, and help folks who are unemployed for no fault of their own, to help them keep food on the table and a roof over their head. And our small businesses need help to make sure they can get through it. You know, I'm happy to say that I was able to help in the CARES Act. In fact, the Pandemic Assistance Act, Unemployment Assistance Act, which expanded eligibility for folks to get unemployment insurance, because of them being unemployed as a result of the pandemic, was expanded with legislation that I wrote, and that was actually incorporated in the CARES Act. So small business owners who suddenly found their business had disappeared, they normally wouldn't qualify for unemployment, were able to get it to be able to keep afloat. Folks who are Uber drivers, independent contractors, those folks were able to get assistance. And that meant hundreds of thousands of people in Michigan were able to get through the really tough times, but must continue to get help. And that's the type of thing we should be focusing on right now. A Supreme Court nominee can wait. In fact, it should. We've never confirmed a Supreme Court nominee past July of an election year in the entire history of this country. Only one justice was there an opening in a shorter period than Justice Ginsburg when she passed. And that happened when Abraham Lincoln was the president. And Abraham Lincoln said he did not want to delegitimize the court by pushing through a nominee 30 days before the election. Of course, Abraham Lincoln was an amazing and great statesperson, but we should follow the precedent of this country, wait till after the election, and focus on making sure people have the relief they need to get through this COVID crisis.
We'll see what takes place there next week, certainly. There have been no debates in this race between you and John James, just the attack ads that, of course, are everywhere on our televisions right now. It obviously takes two to tango, but wouldn't voters be better served if the two of you were debating the issues face to face?
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I agreed to two debates back in July. That was a long time ago. I said we definitely should have debates. I agreed to those two debates. They're basically the two debates that were done when Mr. James ran last time, but when he lost 2 years ago, he had two debates with Senator Stabenow and out in the West Side and in the Detroit area through public broadcasting that was picked up by outlets all across the state of Michigan. It's the same format that was used then. And in fact, it's the same format that the Senate campaigns have used since the 1990s. So this is what we have always done. I agreed to it immediately. We don't hear anything from Mr. James, except he wants to debate debates, because I don't think he wants to debate, bottom line. He has not shown any command of issues or substance. So I suspect he's trying to make this a debate about debates. And instead, his billionaire buddies are putting, and his own campaign, are putting false negative ads against me. You're right. I mean, massive ads that the fact checkers out there, the independent fact checkers, PolyFact and others, have basically said all of Mr. James's ads and that they're running against me are either false, they're demonstrably false, they're smears, they're misrepresentations. But that's basically the basis of Mr. James' campaign. I don't want to talk about that.
For instance, in his ads, he has criticized you for initially downplaying COVID-19, supporting Medicare for all, that you're a career politician, that you're largely invisible and ineffective in your job. Obviously, you don't agree. You've answered those. But is the way you go about your job maybe hurting you in this campaign in some ways?
Well, I go about my job being effective. I would hope that folks here in Michigan want someone who rolls up their sleeves, goes to work every day, is ranked as one of the most effective in getting things done in the Senate, and has passed more bills through the Senate than any other senator over the last or the 2 years getting things done. You know, that's why I got into to politics and public services, because I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to really dig into public policy and understand the really tough challenges that we face as a state and as a country. Now, I know there are politicians that love to get on TV and they're in it to get TV exposure. That's not why I got into this job. I got into this job to solve problems for people, to help us move this country forward and to bridge the divides that I see between folks and parties. That's why I'm ranked as one of the most bipartisan senators as well. The reason I'm effective in actually getting legislation done, when people want Congress to get things done, I'm the guy that's getting things done, and I'm doing it in a bipartisan way. I'm ranked as one of the most bipartisan senators. I'm a Democrat, proud to be a Democrat, but I believe we can find common ground and work together. In fact, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, which, as you know, is not a Democratic organization in any respect, but they just awarded me their inaugural Jefferson Hamilton Award for bipartisanship. I think one of the biggest challenges we face as a country right now is hyper-partisanship, and plus these negative, nasty campaigns like we're seeing from Mr. James. You know, I think that represents the worst of politics. Instead, we should be coming together and bridging some of our divides so that we can actually govern. And that's what I'm committed to. And I think the people of Michigan want someone who's committed to getting things done, and I have a record to prove that.
We'll leave it there tonight. Senator Peters, we thank you very much for your time and wish you well here in the last 2 weeks of this campaign.
Thank you very much. Take care.
We'll be right back.